Hi, I'm Rod, creator of SoapJS. In this video, I'll show you how to add a new feature to SoapJS project. In the previous video, we created a comics API, so now let's add the comics feature and see what gets generated. I will also quickly walk through the general structure of the project, but I won't go too deep into internal details in this video. Things like why use case returned the result, how the call use case works, or how road maps the data. I will cover these in separate videos. Here we're just gonna focus on the practical flow. Generate the feature, check the structure, run the application, test, and check the generated endpoints. Right, so let's start. We're gonna call soap add feature comics I. Using the flag, so it means it's gonna be interactive mode. Now CLI asks questions, and I will generate the CRUD routes. For storage, I will use Mongo. For out, none, because API is going to be public. We want to generate Bruno request so we can test it right away. Dry run first. No, we are good. And here you can see what's going to be generated when we hit yes. Entity, repository port, repository implementation for Mongo, seed, that's I'm going to explain later, use cases, routes, and the contracts, and of course Bruno requests. So let's hit yes and see what's happening. So the main place where you want to look at is source, features, and the comics. Inside this folder we have few API, application, contracts, data, domain. So let's go through them very quickly. Domain folder contains the main business entity. In this case, it contains comic entity. This is the core model for this feature. The application contains ports and also use cases. This is where the application operations live. The contracts, one here, this is where the request data is prepared for the use cases. And before that we have API. API contains the HTTP controllers. These controllers defines roles like post comics, get comics, also get the specific comic, update one, or delete one. The data folder contains the technical implementation. In our case, it's Mongo repository. So the general flow is we go from the controller to contract to use case, repository, and the concrete implementation of the data source, in our case MongoDB. Each layer has its own responsibility. The controller handles the HTTP, the contract maps the request data, the use case handles the operation, and the repository handles the persistence. And the domain contains the core model. Now let's quickly check the setup TS. I'll just scroll this a little bit. Right, this is gonna be fine. The file connects the feature to the application. It creates the repository and registers the use cases in the dependency injection container. I won't go deeper into the dependency injection details here because that deserves a separate video. For now, the important thing is the setup TLs is where the generated feature is wired into the application. Alright, now let's have a look at the application. The feature, we can close this. Alright, so the main source. What we have here is the common, config, features, and of course index.ts. The features folder, which we already seen, contains the business features like comics. The common folder contains the shared infrastructure for data, in our case Mongo. Events, which is the event bus, are also added by default. The config folder contains the application configuration and also the composition. The index.ts is the entry point for the application. This is where the app is created and started. Alright, so maybe let's try to run the application now. Well, first I'm gonna do is call make up, where you can call also npm directly or use the make file. That may take some time, so let's just wait and it's gonna build. Alright, we see the database is healthy and the app is started. Before I mentioned that we also have the seed file. Not here, but here. Data. Yeah, this one contains the very basic model data as a seed for database, so we can use the API endpoint right away. Later developers should of course adjust it, remove it for their needs. Let's run the seed, make db seed. Alright, we have it. Okay. Alright, so maybe first let's, when the database is seeded, now let's try and see if application is still running. Yes, app is running. We can run tests. We could use also makefile for that. As you can see, we added more unit tests for each use case and also the contracts. When we added the feature, next thing we should check is Bruno. Last time we had just one endpoint, health, and now we should get also the endpoints for the comics feature. And we see it's there. Fine. Okay, so let's maybe also call one of the endpoints to see if like really see that the database. Call HTTP. Switch the keyboard. 1000 comics, and there we have it. Yeah, we have one entry, the comic sample one, the same from the seed. All right, so that's it for the video. The main idea is that the SOAP add feature creates more than just a road. Right? It creates the full feature structure with API, contracts, use cases, domain, the data layer, all of the unit tests, also the Bruno tests. So in the next video, I will go deeper into specific SoapJS parts, like controllers, how it works, also the use cases, repositories, dependency injection, and more. Thank you for watching, and if you like that, just hit the like button, subscribe. Thanks.